Hi, I'm Michelle. Welcome to Illinois and Garden Zone 5. We are in mid-October and we are talking about garden today. So, are you wanting to plant a new garden next year? Are you in the middle of moving and need a beautiful new garden space and you're not really even sure where to begin? What plant should you buy if you want that cottage romantic or that French European feeling garden? Well, I am going to give you my top picks that if I were to move, these would be my top choices of planting first in my new garden. So these are the things that have done the best for me and that really are the bones and the structure of the garden and make the garden what it is. So are you curious about those choices? Well, come on, let's go check it out. Anchor plants that I think any garden needs is arborvitaes. Now, arborvitaes, there's emerald green arborvitaes, there's green giant arborvitaes, there's different types of arborvitaes, and maybe in your area you can't grow arborvitaes, but something green and tall that's gonna give you a backdrop for your plants, going to give you more of that secret garden feel, that closed in feel, makes a really good statement. You can put 2 or 3 of them together in a clump if you don't want to do a row of them. You can set them in different areas. And here in Illinois in the wintertime with snow, they look gorgeous with snow on it. So that would be one thing that I would definitely plant again if I was starting over on a garden. Boxwoods. Definitely I would put boxwoods again. Now I have the boxwood circle here for the fountain. That's really the focal point of my garden, but I also have boxwoods throughout my garden. Now boxwood you can shape or you can just leave them in their natural like I have. Boxwood will give you that formal feel to your garden. Also that year-round interest since they stay green all winter long. Gives you something to look at. They're very pretty with the snow on them also. Just love to have boxwoods in the garden. So what are two other plants that I would put in my garden? And they're not really plants, they're shrubs. I would put the magnolia, definitely. I have 3 of those here in the garden. They get 10 to 12 feet tall, and that is a Jane magnolia. And a Jane magnolia is actually a shrub, but I have trained it into a tree shape just by trimming off the bottom branches. I think it's an excellent tree for a garden space because it gives you that tree without that overpowering size. And I have green interest all summer long and all spring and fall. And in the wintertime then, of course, the leaves do drop off of it, but I have all those branches and the birds love to come and land on those branches. It gives the birds a nice spot to land. Another one that I would put in a garden again is a lilac, which is right next to the Jane magnolia. Now that lilac is an old-fashioned lilac. I'm not sure I would put an old-fashioned lilac back into a garden, but I would pick out one that's very, very scented and that gets to probably around 10 foot tall. I think 10 feet is a good size shrub privacy. You could even do a whole line of those if you wanted in your garden for privacy. Again, it gives you green all summer, spring, fall, and then in the winter it does lose its leaves, but lots and lots of branches and lots of bird activity. Those birds love having that tall shrub to land in throughout the winter season and gives the garden some more green texture to it. So those are the 4 main green type things that I would put in that would be more like the bones of the garden. So those are going to be your bigger things that are going to take up space that you got to really plan out, like where do you want those at? So if you love hydrangeas like I do, they are perfect for a cottage formal type garden. You can use them in bouquets, in fresh bouquets. You can dry them and put them in dried arrangements, make wreaths out of them. They look gorgeous all summer long. You can leave the flower heads on them through the winter to give you winter interest in the garden, the dried flower heads. Pollinators love them. Some of them are even deer resistant. So some of the ones I have in my garden that I would definitely take with me or replant again. So our first hydrangea is Firelight Tidbit. Now this is the smallest of the bunch. It gets 2 to 3 foot tall. Now it's already done for this season. You can see by the dried flower heads, but look how many flower heads that has on it. And they start out a real pretty white and then change colors as the season goes on. This can also go into a container because it is a zone 3 to a zone 9. So here in zone 5, we could put this in a container and overwinter it in a pretty container too. So the second hydrangea I would want to plant again is Little Quickfire. Little Quickfire gets 3 to 5 foot tall. So good in that medium type space. And it has beautiful florets all over it. Now these are finished for the season here in October. They are brown, but they would make a gorgeous arrangement. And you can see down in here, we've got some pinky raspberry left there on a few of the florets, but it's just really nice leaf structure and then just full of blooms all summer long. And those start out white and turn to a light pink and then go to the raspberry. And then once they dry, they do have that brown color. Now I could leave this all winter long like this and not cut the blooms off until springtime just to have winter interest. And this is also good from zone 3 to 8. So the white diamonds. Now white diamonds starts out totally white, goes to a pink color, then to that raspberry color. Yesterday when I was out working in the garden, the sun was shining on this, and oh my gosh, it just was a gorgeous toffee color brown. So these would make a real pretty dried arrangement too. Same thing though, we can leave them on the plant and just have them all winter long for winter interest. So then the fourth hydrangea is the biggest of all. It gets 6 to 8 foot tall and makes a beautiful privacy border. If you need privacy, you can also do them as a standalone specimen and just have one big, beautiful hydrangea. And this is Quickfire Fab. I have 3 of them here lining my pathway to the backyard garden from the cut flower garden that we're in. And this is next to the garden shed, the garden house. So as these grow up and fill in, I'll have some really gorgeous blooms to look at from inside of the garden shed out. And also it'll make a nice privacy here along our fence too. So can't wait for those to grow in more. I cut a ton of these this year and had them in bouquets all over outside. These are just a wonderful addition to a garden, and I definitely would take those to the next house with me. Well, maybe not take them. I would probably have to buy some more, but you know what I mean. So I've shared with you 4 green type plants that we're gonna use as our structure plants that are really the bones of the garden. And now 4 beautiful panicle hydrangeas, all in different sizes depending on the size you need in your garden. Now let's talk about roses. Now there are all kinds of roses you can grow. There's miniatures, there's English garden roses, there's hybrid teas, floribundas, grand florals, climbing. So we're not gonna go over all of those different categories. So I just walked through the garden yesterday and I picked out my top 4. What would be the 4 that if I moved to a new area, I would have to plant again? So those are the 4 that I'm gonna share with you today. So the first one that we would plant again, that I would plant again, is All Dressed Up. Now, All Dressed Up, this is its 2nd year, but look how big she is. She is gorgeous, and she is pink. We have a beautiful one over here that's about mid-size, so look how pretty that is. And then do you notice the foliage? The foliage is very, very nice. It is not bug ate. It holds up really well. It's got pretty color on it. So definitely All Dressed Up. I would plant her again. Pope John Paul II, that creamy white, absolutely gorgeous. So this is Pope John Paul's 2nd year too. but just beautiful blooms. Lots and lots. I already cut a bouquet and I have a bouquet next to my kitchen sink of about 5 of these. So definitely grow Pope John Paul again, and it's just a prolific bloomer. Now I haven't been spraying them this late in the season, so they are kind of buggy. Um, but again, look at this foliage. That should tell you something. The foliage out here on this is just gorgeous. So it's just held up so well and very disease resistant. So those are 2 in the cut flower garden that I would definitely plant again. Okay, as we came through to the back garden, over here, tucked over by the mirror, is a rose that I actually ordered a few years ago on Etsy. And I've seen it on Heirloom Roses, and it's the only place I've seen it available. There may be others, but I know that Heirloom Roses carries it. And it's this gorgeous rose right here. This is Paris Yves Saint Laurent. Look at that color, just gorgeous. And it looks like we have a couple over here that are still in bloom. So now this is a hybrid tea, very, very fragrant, and it makes beautiful cut flowers and bouquets. And you can see how tall it gets. It's easily 6 foot tall. So this is one that I definitely would grow again. Very, very nice rose. And even with the dappled shade that it gets, having the magnolia and the lilac right there, it still does really well. And I bet it would even be more prolific if I had it in full sun. Sitting pretty. But this is a beautiful, fragrant, grand floral, and it's massive. And I did just trim all of these up yesterday because they were so big. The smell on them, and when the sun hits them, the smell is just unbelievable. They make a beautiful, beautiful cut flower. This is an excellent rose. It smells so good. And even with the downside of the powdery mildew, I would still plant these again. But now that I know that I would plant these farther out in the garden where you can see them from the garden, but they're not real close. I would definitely plant these again. They're gorgeous. And the smell is wonderful. Okay, now we're going to talk about perennials that I definitely would grow again and that play really well with the roses, the hydrangeas, and those greeneries that we've talked about, the boxwoods, the arborvitaes, the trees, all of that pairs really good together. This luminary phlox from Proven Winners, gorgeous. It comes in different colors, very highly scented. During the summer, the pollinators and the bees were all over that. And just walking through the back garden, you could smell it. It smelled wonderful. It looks really good in arrangements. And so much so that I bought another one this year and planted it on the other side of the garden shed so that I would have another area to cut from. So that would be one of them, phlox. Now the next one would be salvia. I grow tons of salvia. I have all kinds of salvia, but one of the perennial salvias that I would definitely grow again is Proven Winners bicolor salvia. It's got that lavender, purple, and white all mixed in, and the bees were all over that this summer. They just loved it. So that's one that I really like. Another perennial that I definitely grow again is lavender. I love lavender. I have several different kinds of perennial lavender that I try out in the garden, and I had showed you some earlier this season that just had bees all over. It was just beautiful. Now along the south side of our house, outside of the garden, that whole foundation planting is all lavender. I've planted it all in the rocks alongside of the house because it's so sunny and I don't water it. Lavender is so drought tolerant. So if you're looking for something that can handle not being watered all the time, lavender would be it. It smells wonderful, and you can cut those flowers and put them in your bouquets. Very pretty. If you're starting a new garden next year, those are some plants that you can intersperse throughout your garden to give you not only beautiful garden color, but also beautiful bouquets, because you got to have beautiful bouquets to go with your garden. Well, I hope that information was helpful. Have a great week. And if you are looking for more inspiration, check out these videos next.